Yo everyone, what's going on? Today on Amps, Pedals and Pickups, we're going to be checking out the new guitar virtual instrument Odin3 from Solemn Tones. Now, the guitar that's been used for this one, it's an ESP LTD 8-string, I believe it's the SC-608. This is a 27-inch baritone guitar loaded with an Evertune bridge and Fishman Fluence modern pickups. They've sampled this one all the way down to double drop C, so insanely low, totally the right guitar for that kind of setup. Now these guys have done a bunch of virtual instruments before, and I believe that they've been working on this one for the last 4 years. So inside of there's a bunch of different modes and features to suit different MIDI workflows, and we'll take a look at all that stuff in a sec. But first, let me grab some guitar profiles, run it through Odin, and we'll see what kind of sounds you can get out of the new Odin3.
Turn it up! Turn it up!
How's that sounding? Pretty heavy stuff with that mix going on there. Obviously that was Northlane Dispossession. Pulled up that Northlane track that I did in the intro. So you can see the intro is a bit more of a clean sound. Then I have left and right guitars going on, the different stuff there, bass, drums. I even ripped the vocals with new RX11. I'll turn that off and on so we can have a listen to it. And then as the track progresses, I'll show you the clean stuff. I thought that sounded really cool. I got some amp sims and some presets that sound really good with this stuff. So let's take a listen to it, and I'll show you the clean guitars because we haven't looked at that too much. Let's lead into the clean part. That stuff right there is exactly why MIDI rules for this kind of thing. Insanely hard to think of a whole composition just while you've got your guitar in your hand. You really want to see how the drums, bass, different guitar layers are going, and that section to there really is where MIDI guitar shines for me. Right, so let's check it out. This is Ghost Inside. This is what I know about Sacrifice. I know this is not like album quality or anything, but there's some parts of this where I'm like, man, this mix absolutely slams. It rules. Let's check it out.
This is what I know about sacrifice. Meet me at the crossroads. Let's go.
This sort of music and MIDI guitars for me just pairs so well. Let's take a look at this build up. And with the vocals, crazy. Hopefully I don't get copyright stricken or striked. So yeah, I don't want to play the vocals too much, but let's do this little lead up bit because this impact is nuts.
That's everything from me. The world that won't stop. I gave this all that I got. So take your best shot. Now listen up. Oh, meet me at the crossroads. Let's go.
So we take a look at the presets up the top here. I'm pretty sure all these are doing is just configuring the stuff in these different tabs. So we'll look at the stuff in the different tabs and then check out the presets later. But basically, if you want quick go-to stuff, just click on one of these and you're good to go. We'll stick to panned rhythm DIs now. So we'll take a look at these basic chords that I've got going on. I think it's like 116 velocity and you can hear the sort of different things going on, changes the pick attack. We'll probably go over this stuff a few times. I just want to show you quickly how it's all working. So that's the DI sound, pan to left and right, so you can change the panning super quickly. That is so handy because I hate having two instances of things and just juggling things left, right, and center. When it comes time to like mixing, if I was actually building out a full-blown track, I probably would end up using two. But just to get things in its right sort of place, you know, you just want that creativity flowing. I would just stick to the pan stuff for the most part. Now, you can obviously take these DIs and chuck them into an amp sim. I'm like the self-professed amp sim king here. But if you just want some quick stuff here, you can just click on their rhythm. And the lead. And then the clean. You can even hear a bit of the reverb going on there, but into the clean. And yeah, if you can tell, I sound a little bit different today. I've just had this cold that I've been trying to shake for a couple of weeks, and I think I'm on the tail end of it now. I can finally speak properly, so just bear with me for that. Now, if we take a look at the humanize knob, it defaults to 13% here. To be honest, in all the time that I've used Odin3 over the past week or two, I haven't touched it. I haven't felt the need to touch it. If you want that spot-on staccato, exactly as the grid, I guess you would take it down to 0%. And if you really want to spice things up with those timings of the MIDI, you can just up it there. But just double-click, take it back to the default of 13. Take a look at the panning. We had a look at that before, typical panning stuff. That's cool. You can change the different pickups. So we've heard the bridge def. Let's check out the modern. I'll just run through all of them, actually. So that pick attack there is a little bit strong. I've got a few different ways that I can deal with that. The first one is I've got the velocity pretty high, so let's take a listen. Let's say you get it to about there, but it's still just like jamming through on your amp sim. They do have a soften attack. It's kind of like a, you know, a compressor attack or a transient shaper kind of thing. So we'll just bring that in. Obviously, if you go crazy, it's going to get that sort of tremolo sort of sound, but we'll bring it back to like reasonable levels. Every time I've had to reach for it, it's always been at roughly that third point there. Now we're going to take a look at the rest of these features, but honestly, I would encourage you to check out the Solemn Tones videos. They're going to cover this more advanced side of things a lot better than me. I'm a bit of a caveman when it comes to this software. My uses, it's typically rhythm based and just laying ideas down. When I'm forming a track, I want to get like the right tempo, the right grooves, that kind of thing, the bass, drums, and rhythm guitar relationship. I'm not going in and messing with the envelopes and that kind of thing and vibrato in specific notes or like the specific chugs and everything. I just want that like big picture thing. But there are definitely people out there who go for that nth degree. They push these virtual instruments, you know, as far as they can go. You know, these things are literally virtual instruments. I know it sounds crazy, but you know, people can just bend this stuff to their will. They can really get a lot of mileage out of it. That's not me. That's just not how I've traditionally used these things. I just typically use them for rhythm. So I'll go over this stuff, but like I said, check out the Solemn Tones guides because they're going to really showcase this stuff. Oh yeah, and we can consider this video a demo because I've been talking to the guys from Solemn Tones and they sent over a copy of this. Also, I've only been using this software for the past week or two, so how can I really check the ins and outs of this kind of thing? This kind of virtual instrument is the kind of thing that you would really want to use it for a couple months, really pump out like 5, 10 or more tracks, really get the ins and outs of it. And then you can make a proper review comment on what you like about it, what you don't like about it. Maybe it does some things way, way better than competition. And maybe it's missing some stuff that other software has. I've definitely bought some of these libraries in the past. When I first used it, I've been like, man, everything's great. And then later on, I had a few little niggling things and had to email the devs about it. So time will tell with this, but for now, this is just a demo to get going. Force vibrato is a way to get some sort of auto vibrato thing. So if we take a look at this single note here, we'll flick it on. nothing set yet. Let's just increase the speed and the amplitude of the vibrato. All right, so I've moved the note, given it some extreme settings. Let's take a listen to how it sounds. Crazy stuff. We'll reduce the speed and the amplitude. Say you like that, but you just want a little bit of ring out before that kicks in. You sort of sustain a note, then start bending things. So let's just bring in the attack. Sounds way more natural. Just lets the note sustain a little bit, and then it brings it in. So you can mess around with those options and get it going. You can also do the envelope stuff. So if you want to draw in the vibrato manually, you can. But like I said, it's not my thing. So the next thing here is string select, and that's just lets you sort of change the position of where the notes are being played. Obviously, this guitar is massive. You can play the same sort of chord in different positions. It's all like a note dependent, especially with solos and that kind of thing. Those can be played in multiple places. So you can sort of default the area that you want it to play in by using one of these things. All the information is going to be in the manual for the full detailed. I typically just flick through it. I know if it sounds a little bit wonky, I'll change it over and things sound right. The one that I've been getting the most use out of when I've just been doing like drop C, drop D, or E standard sort of stuff, I know that that's being played on a 6 string most of the time. So I've been either going just for the 6 or 7, and I find for me that's been yielding the best results. But it's going to be so music dependent. The stuff you're pumping through here, there's just a ton of different options. Now, on either of these modes, you can override things by using the key switches. So when you program in the MIDI, you program in the key switches, and you can get things going on the exact string that you want. I'll just flash up the key switch here list here. Heaps of them there. I've just made the MIDI editor full screen so we can see things a little bit better. I've labeled some of these notes just so I don't have to keep pulling up the key switch info. So if I want to force things on string 4, I could do that by, shoving in this key switch here. And that's how you do the strings, by using the top section. And down the bottom, there's just an army of different key switches that we can do. I've just switched over to neural DSP Fortin Nameless. So let's take a look at this one. I've done some key switches here, some chugs here, some chugs there, then some opens. And then the first time we play the sort of leady bit, it's just default, and then the second time I've put in some hammer-ons and pull-offs. So let's check out how this sounds running into a proper amp sim. You tell here when you actually use the hammer-on and pull-off stuff, it's a lot less robotic. So let's take a listen. Full pick attack there, then a lot of stuff. It definitely adds up in a mix and just sounds a lot more natural, especially if you're trying to get a natural performance out of this stuff. That's typically how I use this stuff. 99% of the time, those are the sorts of riffs I'm writing. I've just grabbed a MIDI from a Guitar Pro tab here just so we can listen to it. And you can see, as far as articulations go, all that MIDI is the default stuff. We just added in some stuff down the bottom where I know there's a really pronounced chug or a hammer on and pull off. Really haven't had to do too much editing. Straight into the same Fortin Nameless patch. Let's take a listen to how this sounds. Get your idea there. And man, it's just so inspiring stuff. Like I said, I'm always going for getting songs together, pre-production, messing around, making sure the MIDIs all sound good, and then I'll definitely use my guitar for the final performance. I really enjoy the sounds out of this sort of stuff. The next thing here is human noises. Once again, this is something that I don't go into fine detail over. I find the default settings totally fine. It's just little things like your hand coming off the strings, or just a little bit of a, sort of string noise going on there. I leave it at default, don't touch it, but if you want to mess with the stuff, it's all there. So the last thing under the play tab is the auto chord delay. Defaults to 8 milliseconds. Never noticed it, never touch it, sounds great. And I think it's these little human sort of stuff that they've spent time on to make sure that the defaults out of the box are, you don't notice the stuff, it just works well, and you think, hey, I'm really good at programming stuff, but there's probably a bunch of intelligence going on under the hood. So it's just adding a little bit of delay, especially with chords. When you strum a chord, you're not hitting every single string at the exact same time. There's a bit of gap between it, and I guess 8 milliseconds works great. You can even up that. I can start to hear a little bit there, whereas 8, you don't really hear anything. and then nothing. The tiniest bit, you can't really hear it. Definitely something there. Definitely something there. And when you go higher, it starts to sync to the DAW, to whatever your project tempo is set to. And it almost works like an arpeggiator. So if you had a bunch of chords and you just want to play string by string, you can do that sort of stuff. The last sort of stuff in advanced, auto sustain. If you have a whole bunch of gaps in your MIDIs and you don't want those gaps, you can use auto sustain to fill those. For me personally, I always leave that off. I just want to look at the MIDI and know what the MIDI is doing. I don't want the virtual instrument doing some more lifting, and then I'm like, wondering where these sounds are coming from. So I just leave it off, but if you need it on, it's there for you to go. Realign phase is on. You can turn it off if you want like the nth degree of the amps, but realign phase, honestly, never thought about it, but the option's there if you want to go in there. Add palm mute static, take a guess what it does. There's a switch for it right there if you want to turn that on, but default to off. Enforced pick attack, that was another thing that if the pick attack, if you have like a low velocity, if you're ducking things out a little bit with the soften attack, the things are still a little bit too heavy on the pick attack, that's another little thing you can do to take it off. So you can really get in there and try and fine tune and balance those things as best you can. Detune, now this is pretty cool. If you've recorded some real guitars and you're trying to enforce it with MIDI, if the guitar's a little bit sharp or low, you can just bring things down a hair or up and get those things going. The last thing here is tuning. Now, this just affects what you see up here. So F sharp standard. When you change it to like double drop E, D, C, once again, it's just affecting the visuals. You have the full range of the notes there. But if you just like to see things in double drop C, if that's what you're used to looking at, change the visual and, you'll see things that way from now on. So have a quick look at the new Odin3 from Solemn Tones. Some very, very inspiring stuff there. I know I want to do a lot more writing this year, so it's definitely going to be the sort of tool that I'm going to be leaning on. Let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Do you already use a guitar virtual instrument? Do you hate the thought of MIDI guitars? I totally see the pros and cons for different people's workflows. I personally know a couple people with over 600 Guitar Pro files that they could easily just dump into a DAW and use this kind of thing. And then some people just absolutely hate the thought of it because they're guitar purists. There's no right or wrong. These are just tools to get the job done, to write music, create music, get inspired and get things going. So I believe Odin3 should be out by now. They've got an intro price of $139. I'll leave a link to the Solemn Tones website. You can check that stuff out. And this is not a paid review or anything like that. They just sent out a code ahead of time so I could use it, get a bit of a demo happening for you guys. So yeah, if you like what you hear, go check it out. If you're really interested in the stuff, you can join my Discord. If you want, I can run some MIDI through for you. If you want some audio samples, I'm sure we can work some stuff out. Let me know in the comments what you think about these kinds of tools, especially Odin3. If you like what you're seeing out of it, do you use MIDI guitar in general? Do you hate it? You know my thoughts on it. So there we go. As always, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. You've been a legend, and I'll catch you on the next one.